I used to have a voracious competition in me. Rapacious in its intensity. It was practically bloodthirsty, such that I wanted to conquer all things around me. I remember decades ago, I was in advertising sales, and I wanted to be number one. At all costs, number one. And I wanted not just to be the top salesman, but I wanted to crush all the other salesmen. Crush your enemies and see them driven before you, as Conan would say. And that bloodthirstiness, that hot, boiling hot, molten hot fire boiling within me to absolutely cut down and destroy everything in my path to get there was such that I would outwork everyone. That was one of my biggest mantras, outwork. I will outwork you. If I'm new and I can't outsell you because I don't understand the product as well as you, or the technique as well as you, or the narrative as well as you, I can outwork you. And that underpinned everything I do. Even as I grew smarter, as I grew more talented, as I grew more skilled, as I understood the product better, as I understood the customer base better, as I got better and better, the one thing that remained constant was an intensity when it came to my work ethic. And so I remember I was vying for Salesman of the Quarter. And I had won Salesman of the Year. I had won Salesman of the Month. But at this point in time, I hadn't won Salesman of the Year yet. I was going for the Salesman of the Quarter. And you would get your name up on a plaque. And that meant everything to me. Such was my ego. And I would come in earlier than everyone else. I would go out. I would leave after everyone else. I would never leave my desk. I would eat at my desk. I would never stop until I had outsold everyone. And at the end of that quarter, I remember the guy who was coming in second place, a great salesman, great guy, he comes over to me and he says, and I don't remember if this was right before I win it, although I'm way ahead, or substantially ahead, or I'm ahead, whatever the case may be, or if I'd already won it. But one way or another, I remember him coming to me and saying, you took my joy for this game away. You took my joy for what I was doing away. You took my joy for selling advertising in these magazines away. And we were selling advertising in some really cool military magazines. I really loved it as well. I really loved the concept of what we were doing, the types of magazines we were doing. I've always had an affinity for the military, especially the special forces. And he says to me, you took my joy. And I understood what he meant. He used to, it was a fun job. It was, you got to speak to great companies doing great things, and you got to speak to the highest level executives, because that's who you would cold call, and you would pitch them this great idea to advertise in this wonderful magazine. And it was, and if you looked at it the right way, it was a lot of fun. I never looked at it that way. Although I had a passion for the magazines that we were working on, I was so consumed by a rapacious, bloodthirsty competition that I couldn't enjoy myself because I had tunnel vision. I worked so hard. But he says to me, you took my joy away. And I know, because he used to come in, he used to enjoy himself, he used to go out for lunch, he used to after work have some drinks, and he used to have fun selling. He said because he was trying to compete against me, he lost all joy for the game. And in that moment, I knew I was number one. And that solidified in me what I had to do to be number one. But that didn't make me a better person. That didn't make me any more that didn't make me any healthier, that didn't make me any happier. And ultimately, it wasn't good for my soul. This bloodthirsty level of competition. There's a movie called Let There Be Blood where the main character, played by Daniel Day-Lewis, plays an oil man, a wildcatter who strikes it rich, finds oil, and builds the biggest oil company in the world, or one of them, and he's a ferocious competitor. I think it's paralleled against or modeled against Rockefeller. And he says halfway through the movie, or somewhere in the movie, he says to someone, he says, I have a competition in me such that I can't be happy for anyone else that does well. I can't see anyone else doing well. I can't stand seeing anyone else succeed. Something like that. And that was me. There's this story of this parable that Yahusha, Son of the Most High, the creator of all things, he who breathes life, manifested in the flesh as the Son, as Yahusha, the Most High who saves. Yah, the Most High, Shah, salvation, the Most High who delivers salvation, the Most High who redeems. Yahusha tells his Talmudim, his taught ones, this parable, that the reign of the heavens, the kingdom of Yahuwah, is like a man who owns a household, and he goes to the market to hire some workers for his vineyard. And he finds some workers, and he tells them, come work in my vineyard for the day, and I'll pay you a piece of silver. And so he brings the workers to his vineyard, and then after a few hours, he goes out to the market and finds a few more people that are looking for work. And he says, come, work in my vineyard for the day, and I'll pay you what's right. And he brings them, and then a few hours later, now we're well into the day, he goes out to the market, finds a few more standing around looking for work. He says, hey, come, I'll give you some work. Come to my vineyard, and I'll pay you what's right. And then even into the last hour of the day, he goes to the marketplace, and he still sees some people idle, standing around. He says, hey, what are you guys doing here? Just standing around idle. And he says, well, we're just standing around here, shuffling our feet, doing nothing because no one hired us. And he says, come. Come to my vineyard, do some work, and I'll pay you what's right. And this is in the last hour of the day. And then he brings them in, they work, and then at the end of the day, he calls all the workers over, and he starts to pay them out. And he starts with the last first. And he pays out the guys who only worked an hour, he gives them a piece of silver. And he starts paying everyone else. And when he gets to the first few guys that he hired who'd been there the whole day, what might have been, I guess, 12 hours, he pays them a piece of silver, the same as he pays the guys who were only there an hour. And they grumble at him. And they're like, what are you doing? You paid the people that only worked here for an hour the same as you're paying us. And we were here all day carrying most of the burden in the heat, doing all the blood, sweat, and tears and all the hard work. And you're paying us what you paid them. And the householder says, did I not pay you what I promised you? What is it to you if I want to pay the others what I want to pay them? What is it to you what I do with my own? Or is it that your eye is evil because I am good? For in the reign of the heavens, in the kingdom of the supreme Elohim, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. We spend so much of our time focused on how others are doing. I was so consumed about what my competitors were doing. And I was happy when they were losing. I was happy when they weren't doing well. I was happy when they were messing up. I didn't reach out a helping hand to lift them higher. I didn't go out of my way to help them do better. I didn't try to lift them, elevate them, and help them succeed. I was only concerned with crushing them. My eye was evil, such that should any of them do well, I had a poison in me, that if they were to do well, it wasn't enough that I was doing well. They should be destroyed. They should be crushed. They should be rendered asunder because it was not good enough for me to just win. Everyone else had to lose. And that's a poison. That's a toxin. That is an evil that only serves to leave you hopeless, frustrated, anxious, bereft, empty, never feeling satisfied, never gratified, never fulfilled. Better that all around us should prosper. Better that all around us should do well. Better that we should go out of our way to check in on our fellow man, to make sure that our so-called competitors are also succeeding, to see if they need any help. That is the path to righteousness, the path to prosperity, the path to peace and joy and solace. And in the eyes of Elohim, the most important thing is to love him with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and to love your fellow man as you love yourself. To crush your enemies and see them driven before you destroys all, including yourself, because it destroys your own heart, your own goodness, and your eye turns evil at the good of others. Let's seek to elevate our competitors. Let's seek to help them do well. If they're doing well, it means we're doing well. If they're succeeding, it means we're succeeding. If they're prospering, it means we're prospering. Why? Because if we're in an environment where others are prospering, then there's no reason why you shouldn't be. Let's live as an example for our people. Let's lift them higher. Let's elevate them.